Alright everyone, Texas is pretty based and red-pilled, link in the description, archived of course. I'm going to read a little bit of this article verbatim because the start of the article is actually hilarious. Texas plans to buy up all of the unused border wall that the Biden administration is stupidly deciding to auction off for absolutely no reason instead of actually fortifying the border. I think Kamala Harris would have won a couple of extra states had she taken this issue seriously. Had Biden taken the issue seriously, at the very least it wouldn't have been as much of an albatross around her neck. The border is an issue on which the Biden administration has consistently failed. Unfortunately, they're trying to get rid of the rest of the border wall materials before Trump can come into office. Texas to the rescue! I'm going to read this verbatim. Officials in Texas say they are preparing to buy and store border wall materials being auctioned off by the federal government and keep them in place until the Trump administration takes office in January. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick reacted to reports of continued auctions of border wall materials that have been left near the border after the sudden stop of border wall construction in 2021. I will bid on all of that wall, and we will buy it in Texas, and we will give it to Donald Trump, Patrick said on the Ingram angle. I've got $1 billion in my pocket to do it, he said. Which is hysterical. That last part made me laugh. I've got $1 billion in my pocket. I don't think it's actually in his pocket. I think that's taxpayer money, but given the population of Texas, that's, it's peanuts, basically. This was, by the way, one of the more inexpensive, reasonably large government programs that we've seen in recent history. Sometimes you're talking about hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. You look at the infrastructure bill, the bailouts during the lockdown-erist period, very, very expensive. The border wall, you could complete the entire thing for a few tens of billions. Now that sounds like a lot. It certainly would be a lot to you or me, but as far as government programs go, that's a goddamn drop in the federal budget. It's like a drop in a bucket in a goddamn lake. That's how much it actually amounts to. But the wall pieces were already actually bought. They were already purchased. It's just that the Biden administration stupidly never decided to erect the rest of the wall. Since it was already purchased, it should have been continued, but it would have been unpopular with the left. Biden, by the way, one of the few things that he did during his administration that actually made sense was that there was already funding set aside for electronic monitoring systems on some of the new wall that Trump did build. It was about 400 miles in the end. Which may not seem like a lot, but it's substantial. A lot of that was new. The rest of it was retrofitting, in some cases, vehicle barriers, small chain link fences, stuff like that. Basically, there is a border here, but, if you know how to climb, it's not going to be a problem to get over a 10-foot chain link fence. It's not going to be difficult. 30-foot bollard, a little bit more difficult. That's the whole fucking purpose. The Biden administration ran up against the left because they actually decided to allocate those funds and actually put up the electronic systems. You probably don't even, I think that was 2022 if I remember correctly. And the left rambled about it. Oh my God, Biden's being xenophobic. See, he's actually far right. Yeah, having a border is a far right position. Actually delineating where your nation begins and ends is really makes you Hitler. No other nation in the world does these sorts of things. The Biden administration, though, largely has failed with regards to the border. And most people realize that. I have a feeling that affected Kamala Harris, after she took over for Creepy Joe, with the Latino voters. I have a feeling that they got tired of being lumped in with people who just walked across the Rio Grande, and so they punished the administration. By the way, thank you, Latino voters, because you defeated Kamala Harris. I think that's great. Supposedly, she was supposed to win Pennsylvania, too, because of Puerto Rican voters, but that never happened either. It was a really funny time of propaganda. Thankfully, that era has now come to an official end. The neocon, neolib consensus has burned to the ground, effectively. We'll see what the Democrats can do next to try to reform their party, but if their statements in public are any indicator, they're not really going to do anything. They're going to try it again in 2028 and probably lose again, which means we're probably stuck with whatever Republican comes after Donald Trump. May not be a good candidate. but we might have no choice. That would be sucky. Vance is okay. I mean, he hasn't fully proven himself yet, but he seems like a decent dude, but might not be him. Unless we get him or Gabbard or a few others, we might be stuck with some neocon candidate, so we'll see what happens. But Texas is doing the right thing. Spending what effectively based on the state budget size, because Texas is bigger than France and has tens of millions of people living in it. Spending $1 billion to buy the border wall segments, to store them, and getting the money back anyway. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about that. Trump will make the notes good. He's got $1 billion in his pocket, too. And then building the wall benefits the state of Texas. It potentially benefits like Arizona, other states. Even California has been bidding on pieces of wall. I don't know what they're doing with them. They're probably just buying them at bargain basement prices and then carting them off to a scrapyard or something like that because they don't like the idea of having border control. But I think we need to complete the wall. That's a prerequisite to actually solving the situation of illegal immigration in the United States. It's a prerequisite. You must do that. Even if Donald Trump were to deport everyone in the country illegally today, if he could wave a magic wand and then they all disappear, more would come unless you have a competent border defense. Well, the electronic monitoring is there. Some of the border is fortified with the bollard. The rest of it is mainly nothing. I mean, half of the southern U.S. border is effectively undefended. I think the Canadians weighed in literally yesterday on border security, and there's some sort of like joint agreement or something like that that's going to be going on. I have to dig that story out. I didn't actually get a chance to read it. I saw it mentioned briefly on the news, the legacy news. But this is the right thing to do. So congratulations to Texas for having leadership that's actually reasonably competent. It's more than I can say, for example, for my own home state. That's about all. Peace out.